签名没点了呀？再点一个。嘟了。
Testing. Okay. 1, 2, 3. So I don't understand anything that is happening, but I can guess that this is the time for sharing experience. So I'm also a Tabarwa member, I'm also a Tabarwa Sayare, and I want to participate. Since I left Bodh Gaya, I went to visit a Thai monastery, and I would like to share my experience about that. I came there because I had read a few chapters of the book that the followers of the teacher there are translating from Thai into English, and I could have a chance to read through a little bit, and I could feel the real Dhamma in the words expressed in that book. So I was interested to see how that teacher is teaching and whether my feeling about the real Dhamma is true. And actually it was what I also told him when I arrived. I felt really grateful that he accepted me, and he said that he mentioned, like, not in any particular reference, but he mentioned that I'm Buddha's daughter. So he looked at me as the Buddha's daughter, not as a student of some other teacher, not as a stranger, and this is why he could receive me, and I felt really welcome, and I felt really at home there. I always feel at home whatever Tabarwa center I come, but I understand it's not only limited to Tabarwa, it is limited to any Dhamma place where I come, I feel at home. So I had very great experience at that monastery because it is very cozy, very comfortable, clean, green, well organized, dry. They dry wipe with the tissue all sinks after using, they dry the water tap after using, so that there are no stains, no water splashed everywhere. And this is very comfortable for me because this is how I used to live in Switzerland. In my home I also cleaned the kitchen and everything was dry, and the toilet is also dry. And this is something which is very challenging for me with Tabarwa and with Myanmar. So because I was sick, I arrived sick from Bodh Gaya, because there also I had to wash with the cold water and step into the cold water and always being wet. Here I had good conditions to improve my health in the first 2 days. I could have a private room, a shower, and even a heated water. And it was very comfortable for my body, for the eyes, and also for my mind, because, as I said already, I confirmed that the teaching of this master is true, and his Dhamma is very clear and pleasant to hear. Why also I came? Because his teaching reminded me of what we learned with Sayadaw. It wasn't just any teaching. It was something that resembles. And he teaches about sankharas, that everything is a sankhara, just arising and disappearing. And we should be knowing any thought, any idea, any action, anything just as sankharas, coming and going, and we should be focused on disappearing. Just disappearing, 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 and pew! This is the way that he says. Pew. And besides that, he just introduces one element in his teaching which becomes a little bit confusing, as I felt from the experience of when other people were practicing and asking him questions. This is a factor of a schema. He says that when we know everything is a sankhara, still we forget about the one who knows, and he calls this a scammer. Scammer is like in emails, we receive sometimes fake emails who demand us to pay for something, and then they will give us some bonuses for some program, hotels, anything. So they scam us with fake information how we should make the payment for something. People lose money. So this is like modern term, scammer, and he uses it in his teaching. So he says that everything is sankharas, and we shouldn't make a mistake of missing out to see the one who is a scammer behind all these sankharas, who knows the sankharas. And then he explains that the scammer is also impermanent, the scammer is also disappearing. But it means he introduces like two rules, two laws, while with Sayadaw we are learning that everything is just nothing. Everything is nothing, and nothing to attach and nothing to reject, and everything is just understand as impermanent nature. So we don't need two rules here. And I liked very much in his example, I need to take something that I see. So he takes a piece of cloth, like a small towel, exactly like that, and he demonstrates so that people can better understand, doing like this, that everything is sankharas, just coming and going. And he teaches his disciples to know that any thought, any question that they want to ask, any idea, they should just have a piece of cloth and remind themselves like this, that this is just appearing and disappearing sankhara. And this works pretty well for people because they kind of have this interaction and easy example. However, I could also see mistakes connected to this cloth that so first of all I will tell that I admire probably the power of this monk, of this teacher, and his paramis, because he has many disciples who understand his teaching and who can explain his Dhamma, his way of explaining Dhamma very profoundly and beautifully, and they can develop very nice explanation of Dhamma in general and in details of this way of how we should understand. And they're really well spoken. Although the teacher himself, he doesn't speak English, and they use translators because many of his disciples speak quite good English, and they use earphones so that the translation goes simultaneously. And he speaks very fast, but because they understand his teaching, they can express the idea at the same time. And so we could have the simultaneous translation in the earphone. And then he also involved nuns. He's also accepting nuns. He also emphasizes that nuns are not widely accepted in many monasteries, so he teaches nuns. So he's there with another monk, whose function I couldn't understand at all. That monk just kind of is the main in the monastery, managing the monastery. And then there are only 6 or 7 nuns, very few. But they all are very, very good, diligent practitioners. And I really admired their practice and the way how he educates people. Sayadaw often says that he wants to introduce the education system, and this is what I could see this monk is doing already with his members, that he easily invites, same like you do, Sayadaw invites his nuns to share experience and to teach others about how they practice. And another point of his practice is that he emphasizes the contemplation of the death. And all of the nuns were sharing about the death, about the body, 32 parts of the body, and each one was speaking maybe like for half an hour or more to explain how they practice. And then next day, he also involved the lay practitioners to speak and to give answers to questions for those who are coming for the first time. So they were really newcomers talking about their concerns for their children, like a woman would ask that she has a teenage daughter and she's worried about her future. And he would ask some lay practitioners to share their understanding. And they would be telling all this, using this cloth and talking about sankaras. And then where I can see a misunderstanding may arise with introducing this cloth, and this is where I remained a bit with unknown whether they can only speak so nicely or they really practice and understand. Is because when one of the members was explaining, he was saying that sankaras just arise and disappear, and then there is actually nothing, and everything that comes and what arises, this also disappears, and everything that comes disappears. So he was really referring to something that arises. And then because later the teacher offered that we may ask the questions to this student. And I asked him whether he understands himself and just used the wrong words, which we may do sometimes. Or maybe he's missing this understanding that if we use the cloth as a visual representation, this can be good, but then we attach to the concept of something really existing and arising. And then practitioners can understand that in the mind there is no cloth, but they will still have the concept. And he said this in his words, that it wasn't everything, it was something. He said something that arises, it disappears. And I'm not sure, I don't know if he understands that nothing that there is no something real that arises, something as real. So this I see as probably some confusion that students may have when the teacher explains not only in one rule, but adds like rules. And anyway, the atmosphere is really good, and people easily interact one with the other, and the teacher encourages them to share, and he really may stay uninvolved for 1 or 2 hours, while he will be just saying, you please speak to that one, and this one speak to this one, and people will be publicly questioning and answering, and the teaching will be happening just like this. Also, there are young children. There were 2 boys every day. One is 7 years old and another one is 10 years old. And they learn already from that age. And they also were answering the questions of adults who were coming and talking about their concerns. And also this teacher teaches, to explain why he has such small community of only 6 or 7 nuns. Because I asked this question that with such a great teacher, with such clear Dhamma and practice, there should be tons of people following him. And the nun explained to me that this can be one of the reasons that he actually selects, doesn't accept everyone to ordain with him and stay with him, because he scans people. He can know their paramis from before, and he can understand how well they can practice. So he wants really to have the people with the ready material so that he can give his teaching and people can advance. And he often talks about Nibbana, and he explains different 4 stages of Nibbana, and he makes these topics very accessible to understand also to everyone, that this is possible and you just need to practice, and this is like this and this is like that. So he selects the nuns when he sees potential that they can really learn well, then he accepts them. This is why there are not many nuns. And also an interesting thing, I was interested to know with his exposure to Dhamma, whether he is flexible, whether he has rules and regulations, how much he is attached to doing things in a particular way. And it was interesting to observe. So one of the things is that there is only one nun, older nun, who is wearing, like in Thailand, Mai Chi, nuns, Mai Chi Sayale, they wear white robes. And there was only one nun wearing like this, like a skirt, a shirt, and then like we have another part. And other nuns were wearing only a white shirt and a black skirt. And sometimes their hair is a bit long because they shave only once per month, only on full moon. And they let me sit after this one older nun. And it was like the priority who seats were, because we were receiving food, selection of food on the trays, and it means I had more choice before those who would receive this food after me. So I was sitting, there were these 2 monks who were receiving food, then she was receiving, and then me, and then next 6 other nuns. And I was confused whether they were nuns, maybe they were like in between, maybe preliminary stage. And I asked the question, and one of the nuns explained to me that the teacher suggested that they should wear different clothes to avoid the confusion, because they drive the car and they go to the village, and he doesn't want that people in the village get confused that they are nuns and they are driving and they are doing all different activities. So he's flexible, he knows they are nuns, he knows their mind, and he suggested that they wear that type of clothes that mainly some yogis wear. And due to these robes, they let me sit in front of them after this older nun, because she was wearing full robe, and although all the nuns were older than me, of course, and also they asked me whether I was on 8 precepts or 10 precepts, and I said only 8 precepts, they still let me sit second before everyone else, because they say the teacher gives respect to my full robe outfit, because I'm dressed like this, and they're dressed like not in real style, not real nun style. So he gave me priority to sit before them and receive food first, which also shows his flexibility and yeah. And somehow at the seat where he is sitting in the Dhamma hall, there is a rope separating his place from everyone else, just a stretched rope connected to 2 pillars of the Dhamma hall. And there is some kind of note written in Thai, something maybe that this is the place for the teacher, don't cross. And I was confused seeing that rope. Everybody would know that this is the place of the teacher and nobody would jump over or something. You don't need a rope. But actually, with one day after another, I felt this rope means nothing. Whenever people want to come in and give him something, or men come to make massage, they can cross the rope, and also his presence there is so obvious, his attention, his presence, that this rope actually doesn't prevent you from having his attention. He's fully present with his attention. I was also, of course, my mind was comparing, and I was making conclusions that he has only one monastery. He doesn't have many monasteries. Although he visited in Europe, he was also in Switzerland, he was in Italy, he was in Scandinavian countries. Recently he was in India, in Nagpur, and somewhere else. And he makes trips. And some people, even in Switzerland, offered him land. They offered to him in Norway, I guess, or maybe, yeah, somewhere there. But in Switzerland, somebody was offering to sell an old church. Same like in US, that churches are not used and people sell, and somebody was offering for a good price. And he was not interested to get any property abroad, because he's more concentrated on his center here and he wants to expand it. He also has a piece of land, and it is very, very expensive, because in that area the air is considered very clean, and they call it like Little Switzerland in Thailand, the nearby area. So he cannot buy it, it is very expensive, but he was saying that all donations that he receives abroad, he gives back to people, he doesn't keep with him, because he has enough of supporters to support him here in Thailand. So I started saying that he has only one monastery, he doesn't have any centers. He never has a mobile in his hands, and he's always present and available, and this rope means nothing, because he's there and he's very interactive. He kind of moves out from his chair and he's looking like this, and if any children are coming, he's throwing candies to them, and they come and he plays with them, and if any adults also coming to ask questions, he looks at everyone, and he's very present. What actually I can compare, and I feel that we are missing, like I, especially as a foreigner, that I don't have the same language with Sayadaw, I have this barrier. And also because Sayadaw has a lot of work to do with all the centers, he's often on the phone. So although you always come out and you always stay available, still your presence is not that obvious, because you're busy and your mind is also doing some other things. So for me, I have less access, rather than I felt they're very accessible with that monk. And he welcomed me also to ask questions from the very first evening since I'm coming. Of course, he welcomed me to know me. So nuns plus lay practitioners, every day he had about 30 people. So maybe about 15 people staying in and 15 people coming to visit, changing today some people to tomorrow some other people, or staying for a few days. So about 30 participants. So he, of course, he knows everyone and remembers the stories of everyone. And as I was new, he could recognize I was new. So I told him that I came because of my curiosity for his book and for his Dhamma, and to pay respect to him. And he welcomed me to ask any question, and I just talked to him about my health at that time, that I was having sore throat for a long time, and then I was having heart issues. And yeah, he just recommended to contemplate the death. What I liked, that the way how he put it, he said, this is the golden opportunity. Because you are having health concerns, this is now that you can practice dying and understanding the death. And when we are not sick, when we are healthy, then it is difficult to practice contemplation of death and the destruction of this body. But because you are sick, this is a golden opportunity for you. So it was quite, I liked the. And yeah, he recommended just keep contemplating death day and night. And from his own practice, he was telling that he used to do a lot of contemplation on the death. He has books with pictures, with all different pictures of the body. He has videos. He used very big screen that they roll on the wheels. They roll inside of the Dhamma hall, and he uses all different pictures to describe people's faces that can depict the condition of their mind. If somebody is just dreaming away in their thoughts, or if somebody is too much concentrated on something, grasping something. So he has all different animated faces that he was showing on the screen. Also, his followers produce a cartoon, an animated cartoon, which uses and explains his teaching about a small boy who had some concerns, and then he learned about this cloth and the sankharas, and then he was lying in the coffin and imagining how his body separates into 32 parts, and etc. And he has all different methods, actually, all different booklets, and as I said, videos, and even he played a song when somebody was, he tells to many people, he pays attention to their mistake, that people are attached to the state of peacefulness and silence, and this is where they want to stay. Once they feel the peace of mind, they attach to it and they get lost there. So he often shows this mistake to them, and he was given an example of a song, The Sound of Silence. This is a song in English, and they have the translation into Thai, and just the text of this song expresses some ideas that he confirmed as how we should understand the silence, which is actually important also to know and to experience, because if we cannot practice Dhamma deeply, we don't know the silence, we don't know the stillness. So he tries to let people feel the stillness and the pure mind. He also says pure mind. But then, yes, of course, not to attach. So he uses also this term in this sense, not to attach. And when I asked him my question, he was telling me to contemplate the death, but then he was explaining something, and it was quite challenging for me, because I come from Tabarwa school. I have the vocabulary that you use, Sayadaw. And when I was at his monastery, I tried not to use too much of my way of saying things, which is your way of saying things. I tried to give respect to his way of explanation and to use some neutral words, or to try to use his words of explanation. So also I tried to ask questions, to participate, to thank him that he accepts me, and to let him a chance to teach. And also I detached from questions because I felt that I'm not learning anything new. I'm only listening to Dhamma in his way of teaching. I could not learn anything new already. But I was detaching from questions because I also didn't want to bring too much of my own knowledge, my own explanation, my own participation. So I was asking and not asking. But when I was asking, he said that my questions were very... How did he say about this? So it was just, we spent one evening together, and next day he said that my questions are very wise and that he can see that I understand the cause and effect and that I have this ability to ask the questions correctly and understand, and that with my paramis he knows that I can be a good teacher of Dhamma, and that if I continue practicing and if I can get enlightened, I can get one of the... He was explaining about 4 different types of some special skills that one can get when enlightened. So he said I can get one of those when a person can elaborate Dhamma, when just from a simple idea about Dhamma, we can explain a lot. We can really find all different ways how to explain and how to bring Dhamma to others, and that I can have this quality and I can be very good in profound teaching and teach to all and everyone and different, like that. So somehow he not only accepted me, but he also kind of recognized me, let's say, because you know me like for 11 years and he just could meet me and he could recognize me like this. And so they also don't have any big boxes where it is written, thank you for your donation, we value your donations are welcome. He doesn't have anything like this. People who want to donate, they come and give him or put somewhere near to him. And he is quite flexible in different issues. And he tells many stories that tell us that he is an arahant. He tells many stories from his past and about his encountering devas and brahmas. He explains like this too. He was speaking also about the practice of jhanas and about, he emphasizes actually satipatthana, and he speaks about breathing and he speaks about walking meditation. And I asked him how come he knows all of these methods. Was his path to attainment of Dhamma so difficult that he needed to try so many methods? But he said that it is the practice of many lives.